Listen, I know that corporate job of yours feels like an old pair of jeans when you're fresh out of maternity leave. It just doesn't fit. And every day you feel like you're squeezing yourself into that role. And by the end of it, you're exhausted, frustrated, and dreaming of the freedom that comes with being your own boss. But here's the thing, that corporate world you're itching to leave, it's not only an ATM right now, it's a gold mine of opportunities for your future business. And it's a safety net, unfortunately. Now, don't get me wrong. We're not planning for failure here. We're planning for success all the way. But there's immense power in knowing that if things don't go as planned, you can always go back. It's like keeping that life vac in your kitchen. You probably won't need it. I mean, hopefully. But knowing it's there gives you at least some confidence to start solids with your kiddo. Today, we're going to talk about how to make your exit not just graceful, but strategic. We'll cover everything from managing your mindset in those final weeks to crafting the perfect exit interview. By the end of this episode, I want you to have clarity as you prepare to transition out of corporate life and know what to focus on to keep those valuable connections warm and that door slightly ajar. I want you to remember that you're not just leaving a job. You're launching a new chapter of your life. So let's make sure it starts on the right foot. And that's what this episode is all about. Welcome to How to Quit Your Job, a mom's guide to creating a life and business you love. It's a podcast that helps working moms just like you optimize your time, manage your mind, and start a business that helps you create more freedom, flexibility, and yes, fun. I'm business and mindset coach Jenna Reichel, and I offer practical tips to help you ditch the 9-to-5. I've been exactly where you are, and I know what it takes to make the transition without trading one form of burnout for another. So let's get started. So let's imagine it's 9 a.m. and you're sitting in yet another pointless meeting. Your boss is droning on about KPIs and synergy, and all you can think about is how much you'd rather be working on your business idea. The temptation to check out mentally is real. I get it. You might even be considering some good old-fashioned quiet quitting. But hold up. I know you want to burn it all down and call it quits, but that's just not the best way. And here's why. Every single person in that room, yes, even that guy who always steals your ideas, is a potential future client, partner, or referral source. I know it sounds crazy right now, but trust me on this. I've seen it happen time and time again with my clients. And here's something else to consider. They might even be your future coworkers again if you ever decide to return to corporate life. Now, I know what you're thinking. Return to corporate? No way. And I get it. That's not the goal. But here's a little secret that successful entrepreneurs know. Keeping that option open, even if you never use it, can be incredibly empowering. Like I said, it's the life vac under the counter. You hope you'll never need it, but knowing it's there allows you to take bigger risks. Or in the case of the life vac, your kid takes bigger bites. Think about it this way. If you knew you could always go back to your corporate job if things didn't work out, how much bolder would you be in your entrepreneurial ventures? How much more confidently would you pitch to that first client? How much more innovative would your ideas be? This mindset, knowing you have options, isn't about planning for failure. It's about creating a foundation of confidence that leads you to more action and in turn, greater success. It's setting up systems that transform that fear that we're all feeling into fuel. Now, let's talk about your future potential clients. And I want to highlight one of my favorite clients. We'll call her Sarah. She was a marketing executive at a large corporation, absolutely miserable, and counting down the days until she could start her own consulting business. But instead of checking out, which she was absolutely on the verge of doing when we started working together, she focused on how to make her last few months in corporate worthwhile. With her departure date on the horizon, she started having more thoughtful conversations with her boss. She started delegating more to the team and stepping back on projects that would eventually need to run without her, and started connecting with people who inspired her rather than just people at the job that depleted her. Fast forward 4 months when she was leaving her job, and guess who was her first client? You got it. Her former company. It was not something on her radar, but when she told them she was starting her own consulting business, they jumped at the opportunity to keep her knowledge and skill sets around, even if it meant that she would start making the rules around when and how she worked, which included less hours, more pay, and projects and clients she actually enjoyed. And I want you to know that this isn't completely rare. Oftentimes, our skills and expertise align really well with our previous employer because we've spent so much time in that industry and know the company so well. So here's what I want you to do. Starting today, if you're still in corporate, I want you to think about your final weeks or months at the company differently. You're not just an employee anymore. You're an undercover entrepreneur, right? And you're patching up those relationships and potentially patching up that safety net. Every meeting is a chance to strengthen relationships. Every project is an opportunity to showcase your skills. Every conversation is a potential seed for future business. This doesn't mean you have to fake enthusiasm for a job you've outgrown. It means being strategic. It means recognizing that your current role is providing you with resources, connections, and experiences that will be absolutely invaluable for you when you're in that entrepreneurial role. Let's be honest, it also makes your time there a lot more fun. Sometimes we can get into a rut of meeting with the same people or problematic clients and miss all the really great people that we work with. Take advantage of easily being able to email, chat, Slack, and schedule with coworkers to add some excitement to your week. I remember when I was wrapping up my work and planning for my departure, I made a list of all the people who I had close relationships with and would want to keep in touch with. I emailed them individually to let them know that it was my last week in the company, and I CC'd my personal email so that I would have their email once I left the company, and they would have my personal email and still be able to connect. These weren't necessarily people who I thought would be clients one day, right? They were people that I had genuine connections with. And so I wanted to make sure that I did my due diligence to let them know of my departure in a personal way, so they felt even more connection with me in those final days. I've loved being able to keep in touch with all those folks, even years after being with the company. LinkedIn is another great way to be intentional about staying in touch. So maybe you focus on connecting with people on a platform like that as well. Even better if you plan to use LinkedIn to promote your business. Use these conversations as a way to excitedly talk about what's next. These people should be folks in your life who will cheer you on and who are excited about what's next for you and support you all the way. Now, the obvious struggle with all of this is that it can be difficult to network and be strategic when you can barely drag yourself to work each day. And I hear you, mama. And with school starting back up, I'm sure that's added a whole new chaotic element, albeit probably a welcome transition, where getting the kids up and ready for school before your first meeting creates a whole new set of obstacles to your workday. The burnout is real and it's intense. You have to find ways to rejuvenate your mind and body so you can make it to your exit date with grace. So many clients come to me ready to quit on the spot, practically allergic to their laptop, with little care for the consequences of burning it all to the ground. And whether they like it or not, I always aim to get them to love their job before they leave it. It feels impossible at that moment, but the process offers an incredible opportunity to practice mind management and for them to really change the environment without the environment itself needing to change. Because as we know, it takes decades for corporate culture to change. So if this is you at this moment, I want you to do a few things. The first is to tune back into episode 4, called How to Make Work Suck Less, because There are tons of goodies in that episode, and I also share a PDF resource to go along with it to help with accountability. Then I want you to identify the parts of the job that are absolutely draining you. For some of my clients, it's the nonstop Slack messages, responding to clients at all hours of the night, or meetings at all hours of the day. Once you know your pain points, it's time to address them and create boundaries. If Slack messages and constant communication demands are creating a boiling point, exit out of Slack for the majority of the day, or at least choose chunks of time where it's not open on your browser. Tell your team they aren't able to Slack you between certain hours and stick to that. If you're tired of responding to emails at 11 p.m., don't do it. Let your clients know your new work hours and that you won't be able to tend to emails after 7 p.m., but will absolutely get back to them at 8 a.m. the next morning. Tell them to put urgent in the subject line in all caps if it's an emergency. Say no to meetings that don't have agendas or that you don't feel like your presence is completely necessary at. Do an analysis of your meetings to see which ones are still useful and delete the standing meetings that have gotten mundane and pointless. I also want you to start using your PTO as a wonderful tool to rejuvenate your mind and body. Will it fix everything? No. Will it offer some moments of reprieve if done well? Yes. Plan mini breaks to recharge and work on your business plan, that exciting new thing in your life. I loved taking off one day in the middle of the week to work on my business every now and then. It didn't mean I was coming back to heaps of missed emails like when I took a week off for vacation. But having a Thursday to myself was a huge motivator to seeing what life on my own terms really looked like. Hey moms. Just jumping in real quick. If what I'm sharing resonates with you and you're ready to make real changes in your life, I'd love to support you. Through my one-on-one coaching program, I help moms just like you create the strategy and accountability needed to build a business and life you love. Ready to explore what's possible? The link to apply for a free strategy session is in the show notes. And if you're not quite ready for coaching, please join our free Mom Entrepreneur Circle, a community of moms who get it. All the links are waiting for you in the show notes. Go to jenna.coach/episode number to check it out. Now, let's get back to today's episode. I also want you to start saying no. This is a critical skill for any entrepreneur, and I want you to start flexing that no muscle now. Politely decline additional projects that don't align with your core responsibilities or future goals. Here's the amazing thing. When my clients start implementing shifts like this, not only does their stress level plummet, but their productivity actually increases, both in their work and business. And when clients eventually give their notice, they do so from a position of strength, not desperation. They aren't so much running away from something as much as running towards something, which is always my goal with them. And in most cases, even those that are really resistant to loving their job before they leave it, they start to see what I mean once they shift a few things for themselves in those last few weeks or months. And that's how we can really change our environment without necessarily waiting for the company to change. So pick one area where you can implement a boundary this week, maybe turning off email notifications, blocking an hour each day for uninterrupted work, whatever it is. Commit to it. And remember, you're not just doing this for your current job, you're practicing essential skills for your future as an entrepreneur. Now I want to talk about the main event, your actual exit. Timing is everything here. And it's not just about choosing the right moment for you. It's about understanding the rhythms of your company and positioning your departure in a way that's beneficial for everyone. And no, you don't owe your company anything. But as I've mentioned, it's in your best interest to leave on amicable terms because you just never know how these connections might benefit you down the line. When I decided to leave my corporate job, I gave about 3 months of notice. Yes, you heard that right, 3 months. Now, before you think I've lost my mind, let me explain why this was one of the best decisions I made in my transition. I was in a leadership role, and it was a particularly hectic time with lots of deadlines looming. My manager and I had a really close relationship, And the thought of keeping this big news from her felt wrong. Plus, I knew that finding and training my replacement would take time. So when I knew exactly when my ideal departure date would be, I scheduled a meeting with my boss. I explained my plans to leave and start my own business, and then I offered to stay to ensure a smooth transition. Now, I know what you're thinking. Weren't you worried they'd push you out early? And you're right to ask that. It's a valid concern, and it's why this approach isn't necessarily for everyone. But here's where knowing your company culture and having a good relationship with your boss pays off. I had built enough trust that I felt confident that my boss wouldn't take advantage of my extended notice. And you know what? They were incredibly appreciative. It gave us time to plan for me transferring knowledge. I could document all my processes, create training manuals, and even start training team members who would be taking over parts of my role. It allowed me to finish important projects, prepare the team, set up future collaborations. Because I wasn't rushing out the door, I had time to plant seeds for people that I thought might want to connect down the line for future collaboration. And I was able to have thoughtful conversations about my new role and business venture. Now, I want to be crystal clear. This approach is not recommended for everyone. You need to carefully consider your specific situation. Think about your company culture, your relationship with your leadership, your specific role and projects that you're responsible for. Are you in the middle of critical projects? Would a longer transition genuinely benefit the company, or could it just prolong a really awkward situation? But also think about your personal readiness. No matter when you decide to leave, you want to make sure that you are clear about your end date. Okay, don't leave it open-ended. Even though I talked to my manager early and let her know that we had a lot of time to plan for my departure, I still made it very clear when I was going to be leaving. Set a specific last day and stick to it. You also want to create a transition plan. Outline what you plan to accomplish in those last few weeks that you're with the company, or in my case, months if you give an extended notice. This shows professionalism and helps you manage expectations in general. Please stay engaged, okay? It can be tempting to check out mentally, but resist that urge. Take care of yourself in the ways that I talked about a little bit earlier with boundaries, and re-listen to episode 4, and stay fully committed until your last day. We don't want to burn any bridges. Document everything, okay? Use this time to create detailed notes, and also make note of all the people that you want to keep in touch with. You will not have access to your email once you leave officially, so make sure that you have a way to capture everybody's contact information. And I want you to network intentionally, right? Use this time to strengthen relationships. You never know which connection is going to be valuable in your entrepreneurial journey. Remember, whether you give 2 weeks notice or more, the goal is to leave on a high note. You're not just closing a chapter, you're setting the stage for your future success. Every interaction in those final weeks is really an opportunity to reinforce your professional reputation and open doors for your new venture in the future. There's one last detail I want to talk about that's mostly inspired by an experience I had that still haunts me today, and that's the exit interview. You've set your exit date, you've given your notice, and now you're facing the final hurdle, which is that exit interview. I know it might be tempting to use that as an opportunity to finally let loose all those pent-up frustrations. Like when you're sleep deprived and your toddler asks why for the millionth time. But trust me, that's not the move. Luckily, the haunting experience I had wasn't my own experience. It was something I watched from afar, but it's still an important cautionary tale. Once, when I was still in my corporate role, I overheard an exit interview that made my toes curl. The employee was sitting in the main area doing a virtual exit interview with HR. And let's just say professionalism went out the window. They were airing all their grievances using language that would make a sailor blush. all while in earshot of the entire office, including everyone in leadership. And I get it. This person probably felt like they had nothing to lose. But here's the thing. You always have something to lose. Even when you're walking out the door, your reputation, your professional network, future opportunities, these are all on the line in how you conduct yourself, right up to the very end. So, how do you nail that exit interview? Here's a more appropriate game plan. Come prepared. Don't wing it. Spend time reflecting on your experiences, both positive and negative, and jot down key points you want to make. It's not about scripting answers, but you want to ensure you don't forget important feedback in the heat of the moment. Focus on growth. Instead of just listing a bunch of complaints, frame your feedback in terms of opportunities for the company to grow and improve. Be constructive. If you're addressing challenges or negative experiences, it's great to suggest ways for improvement. This shows you're not just criticizing, but genuinely care about the company's future success. Keep it professional, please. No matter how comfortable you feel, remember that this is still a professional setting. Keep the language clean, your tone respectful, and your feedback balanced. Imagine your words being repeated to future employers or clients, because they might be. And look to your future. Express enthusiasm for your new venture, but also mention that you'd be open to opportunities and future collaborations if the opportunity arises, right? This leaves the door open for potential partnerships down the line. And these tips aren't just great for conversations with HR during your exit interview. I'm sure you'll have different conversations with people in leadership as you are planning your exit and leaving the company. So keep in mind all of these things when you're talking to anyone about leaving. Remember, the exit interview isn't just a formality. It's your last chance to shape how you'll be remembered in the company. You never know when you might cross paths with these folks again, perhaps as clients, partners, or even employees in your new venture. I've seen firsthand how a well-handled exit can lead to consulting opportunities, client referrals, and even partnerships down the line. On the flip side, I've also seen bridges thoroughly burned, reputations tarnished, and opportunities lost to a momentary lapse in judgment during an exit interview. Your goal here isn't to be a pushover or to sugarcoat real issues. It's to provide valuable, constructive feedback while maintaining your professionalism and keeping future opportunities open. Okay? Think of it as planting seeds for your future business. You want to leave them in fertile soil, not scorched earth. All right. My amazing moms out there, let's recap the gold we've uncovered today. We talked about shifting your mindset as you approach the end of your time at this corporate role. You're not just an employee counting down the days, you're an undercover entrepreneur building valuable connections that will help your future business. The second thing we talked about are boundaries being your best friend. Protect your energy and sanity by setting clear boundaries. It's not just about surviving your current job, it's about practicing essential skills for what's next. We also talked about things to consider in making your exit strategic. Now, we talked about in episode 3 when to quit your job, but this is more geared towards making sure when you leave your job aligns with you and your company so that you're not burning it all down, right? Look for natural transition points and use your remaining time to document, train, do the things that help the company succeed without you, because that looks good for you, right? And that can also give you time to plant seeds for future collaborations. The last thing we talked about is the exit interview. And like everything else, I want you to use the exit interview as a way to build relationships and shore up that bridge. I want you to treat the exit interview as just that, an interview. You're leaving with grace and truly helping the company to know how they can improve. The coworkers you're leaving behind will be forever grateful. Your goal is to leave the company having someone in leadership say to you, "We'll always have a position here for you," or something to that extent. Do you want that position? No. Does it help you to feel more secure that you have options down the line? Yes. Remember, leaving your corporate job should not be dramatically burning bridges as you make your grand exit. I have this image of also like middle fingers in the air, right? It's about strategically reinforcing those bridges so that you can take advantage of that professional network that you've built over all the past years, right? For anything you might need in the future. Now, here's what I want you to do next. I want you to write down 3 specific actions you're going to take this week to start implementing what we've discussed today. So maybe it's scheduling coffee with a colleague that you want to stay connected with, or drafting that email to your boss about setting those new boundaries. Whatever it is, commit to it right now. And remember, this is just one step in your journey to creating a life and business you love. Keep tuning into this podcast for more strategies, inspiration, and honestly, real talk about making those entrepreneurial dreams a reality. Okay, and I will see you next week. Before we wrap up today's session, I want to talk to the mom who's been nodding along, feeling seen and understood. Maybe you've been thinking about leaving corporate and building your own business, but you're not sure where to start, or if it's even possible with everything else on your plate. I'm here to tell you it's possible. I've helped moms go from a vague business idea to replacing their corporate income, and I've supported others in discovering their passion and signing their first client, all while balancing working in corporate and balancing family. My one-on-one coaching program is intimate support and helps you develop the strategy and accountability you need to move your business forward. As a mom myself, I understand the unique challenges we face in prioritizing our own needs. And that's exactly why I specialize in working with moms just like you. If you're ready to explore what's possible, there's a link in the show notes to apply for a free strategy session. This isn't a pushy sales call. It's a genuine conversation to see if we're a good fit for each other. And if you're not quite ready for one-on-one coaching, you can join our free Mom Entrepreneur Circle, a supportive community of other moms who are on this same journey. The link to join is in the show notes as well. Remember, you don't have to figure this out alone, whether it's through the podcast, our free community, or working together one-on-one. I'm here to help you create a life and business you love. Now go take that next step. Whether it's big or small, just take it. I'll be here next week with more strategies and support to help you along the way. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of How to Quit Your Job,
a mom's guide to creating a life and business you love.
If you want to learn more about how I can help you stop making excuses and start making moves, head on over to www.jenna.coach. I'll see you next week.